Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with selections for Saturday, the 17th of June. Well, the last horse came placed on Friday, so we had a decent return. It was a profitable day. He didn't win, but he just snuck fourth place. So what I've done, I've pretty much reinvested the money back in, and these are my entire bets for Saturday. So let's get into it. So the first bet is a 10 pence each way Heinz. I've had 15 pence each way doubles, and I've had 50 pence each way singles, and then I've just had a small 38 pence each way fourfold. In fact, forget the fourfold, that's not that bad. So basically, what it is, obviously, as you know, it's really complicated trying to explain it with Sky Bet because they put the time of the races in, they're all in time order. So let's start again. So it's a 10 pence each way Heinz, 15 pence each way doubles, and 50 pence each way singles on all these horses, and they are as follows. The first selection is Baltimore Boy at 15 to 2 in the 2:15 at Sandown, paying 5 places instead of 3. This horse can make the most of its low draw. It won't lead, but it's got one horse on its inside, and that horse normally leads. So I expect that horse to lead and this horse to sit in third or fourth place, or even second, but it doesn't need to force anything too soon because it's not used to it. It's got Hate to Crouch on board, which I like, but unfortunately it's trained by Michael Bell, which I'm not a fan of. But I do like the look of the horse, and I think it's got every chance. The second selection is Northcliffe at 33 to 1 in the 3:40 at York, paying 7 places instead of 3. I'm convinced this is going to be down to low numbers. That's also the reason why I've included this horse in a forecast and tricast. But this horse ran well at Beverley it ran okay at Beverley last time. It was drawn wide. It kept wide throughout. And what there's like a bit of a bend at Beverley. You don't really see it when they're running, but when it shows you the head on, you can see it quite clearly. So it was racing wide, drawn wide and racing wide throughout. It was prominent or not quite prominent, dropped back and then came again. And I think York will be perfect for it. It has run well at York in the past. It's well handicapped. Timmy Easterby's coming into form. He's got a number of runners on Saturday, and I do think there's quite a few with a chance, and this is definitely one of them. So at 33 to 1, it may drift, but I'm happy with 33s. The third selection is Cuban Breeze at 13 to 2 in the 4:30 at Chester, paying 4 places instead of 3. I think it's drawn 6, this horse, and it's normally prominent. It has been leading, but I would sooner it be prominent rather than lead, and basically be tracking the leader, basically like 2 off the rail. Then it'll mean whatever wants to come challenging it will have to come on its outside. Hopefully, the one on the inside, which is the leader, will drop back. So hopefully, you can get first run on most of the horses, turn in the final bend at Chester, and I think 4 places at 32. I think is absolutely crazy. The fourth selection is Jewel Maker at 7 to 1 in the 4:50 at York, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse, I've seen it. It's quite interesting because quite a lot of times during the races, you'll see the camera angle change, and you'll see the head on or the side. Then all of a sudden, it'll show you like either the overhead or from behind. Well, many a time I've seen this horse where the jockey's either taking a pull or is one of the last to actually go like all out. Well, it's found no end of trouble this horse has recently. I always remember seeing it. I think it was at Newcastle on the all weather when it ran. I think it might even have won that day, and you could see him sat there with like a tight rein, and everything else was nudging along. Well, it did that last time. It didn't find loads. It ran on well. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's been set up for this race. At 7 to 1, it's not like they're giving it away, but it's like I think it's a bit stingy. But obviously, I've taken the price and I do fancy the horse. The fifth selection is Bookmark at 11 to 2 in the 5 o'clock at Chester. This is a very interesting horse because it ran in this race last year and it was basically crucified out the stalls. I think it jinked sideways and bumped into something else, and then next minute last off, it came finishing pretty well. It was Callum Hutchinson training, claiming 5, is claiming 3 this year, and I think it's actually off a £3 lower mark as well, and it was only 4-1 that day, and I think it's got a right chance. If I'm being honest, the lot names Mark and David have just been to knock in a few winners. One of them had one today. I think was it David Loughnane had one at Sandown. I think it did. But yeah, stables going pretty well at the moment, or running to form, and I think it's got every chance. The final selection is Great News at 11-1 in the 5:25 at York, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse, like so many of Godolphin recently, should I say, there's quite a few coming off huge absences. Not quite sure where the trend's coming from because it never used to happen that often. But I must have seen 3 at least with like 3, 4, 500 days. Well, I believe this one's 500 days and it's rated 78. So whether they thought, right, we'll pack in with it, and whether it's been showing like a renewed appetite at home, I don't know. I just find it interesting that they've brought a horse back rated 78. Is not bad. It is quite low for a Godolphin trained horse, and I just think it's interesting that they're bringing it back. 500 odd days, why bother? So, but they are doing, and it's not the hottest of races, if I'm being honest. So I think it's got a decent. Well, it's an interesting horse, should I say? I don't think it's got a decent chance. I don't know how fit it is, or how much ability it retains. So let's keep going down. So this is going to be a little bit awkward. Let's see what that is. Right. So we've got an each way lucky 15. So this is where I've basically included the bigger price horses. So it's a 20 pence each way lucky 15, 20 pence each way doubles, and a 38 pence each way fourfold. So let's get that was basically because it was the last bet. It was just to eat up the last of the balance. So it's first selection is Snash at 20-1 in the 2:35 at York. Unfortunately, that's not paying any extra places, and this is quite a difficult race to get placed. But I'm going to stick with it. The paying first 3. I expect it to run the same as Jewel Maker. It'll be held up a little bit off the pace, and it'll come hopefully with a good run. It has ran fine over this distance. Not quite sure what its favourite distance is, but it is pretty decent over 6 and 7 furlong. The second selection is Northcliffe, once again at 33-1 in the 3:40 at York, paying 7 places instead of 3. The same applies to what I said last time. I believe low numbers will be best. It should be, hopefully, it should be about 3rd or 4th place in the low numbers, and then stay on. Stay on the best. It's over 6 furlong. I think it's drawn 2 or 3, so I think it's got a right chance. I've also later on I've had a forecast and track list, but I'll talk you through that. The third selection is Jewel Maker at 7-1 in the 4:50 at York, paying 4 places instead of 3. And finally, in this bet, once again, is Great News at 11-1 in the 5:25 at York, paying 4 places instead of 3. Now we've got a painting, and this is a win painting. So basically, these are my naps of the day. So I've had a pound painting, a pound win painting, should I say, and £1.50 each way treble. The £1.50 each way treble is quite interesting because if all these 3 horses don't win but they come placed, it pays for the bet. It's like a free day on this bet. So basically a tenner on, tenner about. So the first selection is Tafrige at 5-2 in the 3:20 at Chester, paying 5 places instead of 3. This horse, it ran a decent race. It had a favourable draw, but it didn't make the most of it. It got quite a bit behind. I do think it's a horse that's running into form. I do think it will want this quicker ground, and I think it's been basically set up for this race because there's a nice bit of prize money available. 5-2. If I'm being honest, on the Racing Post site early on this morning, it was about 11-2. I was really hoping for that price because otherwise it'd have been in every single bet that I would have had. But unfortunately, it's only 5-2. So yeah, I like the look of it. So the next selection is Bookmark. I've already got into why I fancy it, but It's at 11 to 2 in the 5 o'clock at Chester. And finally in this bet is Al Nilam at 7 to 2 in the 5 past 5 at Sandown. Basically, this is from Godolphin Stable. Every single rating or racing post rating that it's achieved is above its current handicap mark. Well, it's ran 4 times, and I normally class them as very well handicapped. And I think this I say testing distance. I think it's 1.6 miles or 2 miles, and I think it'll be right up its alley. And for me, there's a number of horses with question marks over them, and I think it's therefore got every chance. And I do think there's more improvement to come out of it. So there's a treble, as you can see. So in this one, I've had a 25 pence reverse forecast and a 25 pence combination try-cast. Comes to £3 in total. It's 2 separate bets at £1.50. So I've had, and these are in the 340 at York. So it's a 25p combination forecast, Safari Dream, Northcliffe, and King's Crown. And then after that, I've had the try-cast, combination try-cast, which is same horse, so 25p, and it comes to £1.50. So £3 in total for those 2 bets. There's the one, as you can see. So second page. So I apologise for this dragging on a bit. Let's keep going down. So this is the 4-horse forecast and try-cast. So I've had a 25 pence combination forecast, Alpine Stroll, Al Nilim, Arabescato, and Sea Appeal. Ideally, you want Al Nilim to win and Arabescato or Sea Appeal to come second or third for the try-cast. Alpine Stroll is currently the favourite, but those that out of 8 runners, I narrow it down to 4 runners. So you watch, the other 4 will come placed. So yeah, it's 25 pence each way. Sorry, 25 pence combination forecast, and then it's a 16 pence combination try-cast. And that is absolutely everything. So I wish you the very best of luck. We're 12 minutes in. If you can give me a like or a subscribe, that's great. I really appreciate it. So the very best of luck. Fingers crossed. Charlie Winters over and out. Cheers, mate.